I started my first business when I was 26, and it was in IT. And it went from nothing to about 40 million in revenue in about 3 years.
If there's one factor that makes a business succeed, what would you say that is?
I'd say the biggest thing is persistence, because everything I've ever done looked like it wasn't going to work. But if you just persevere and you just push through and you keep working and you keep talking and you keep, raising money if you have to, you just keep plowing away. What I find is most people are willing to do that for some period of time, but maybe not a long enough period of time. That's the way it used to be done. I mean, there was no Zoom. You flew out, you drove out, whatever, you shook hands, and that's the way you did business.
If there was one tipping point that helped you close deals with investors, what would you say that was?
In my case,
Dennis, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me. Glad to be here.
To have Dennis Hefner. He's the CEO and founder at TrueBlue, which is a dating app for progressives.
Correct.
And from Colorado. Thanks for coming out.
It's great to be here. Great weather.
It's beautiful weather. It's hot, nice and hot. So I like it.
Hot, I'll take this time of year. It's kind of cool where I come from right now.
Yeah, summers are still nice in Colorado.
Yeah, they are. Summers are great.
So you came up with this dating app, TrueBlue. Just right off the bat, how'd you come up with this idea?
During COVID lockdown, luckily my kids were all local. One of them was actually on spring break from Gonzaga, so he happened to be home. So we had the lockdown. That was March of 2020. And we spent a week or two playing games and drinking wine and having a good time. And at one point we had a conversation about dating apps. Now I've been married since 1985, so there was no internet, let alone dating apps back then. So I was not an avid user of dating apps at all. But they mentioned that in passing, really. Again, I wasn't looking for anything new to do with business. I had a couple of smaller businesses going back then that I was attending to. They mentioned that the people, in my daughter's case, the men, in my two boys' case, the women they were right in their bios in Tinder and all the the big dating apps saying, hey, if you voted for Donald Trump, don't bother. If you're conservative, don't bother. And what little I knew about dating apps back then, there has to be a dating app for that. But this is 2020. That was a big issue.
Yeah, right? It's hottest.
And your political stance grew in dating priorities to number 4 actually back at that time. Might even be higher now. So I thought, well, there has to be something out there. So I just casually looked. I was just curious more than anything else, and there wasn't. There's J-Date for Jewish people. There's Christian Mingle. There's Farmers Only. I mean, there's dating apps for every niche you could think of, except this 4th highest priority for daters. That's crazy. Maybe there's an opportunity there. So I got started. I jumped on all the dating apps after I warned my wife that I'd be out there and her divorced friends might see me, but it's all research, which it was. And I just started the process of learning the apps and researching the industry and understanding the potential opportunity and why people date the way they do, and it grew from there. That was as I said, March of 2020. Here we are in September of 2025. But that's the origins. It all started with conversation with my 3 kids around a kitchen table during COVID. Yeah.
They say the best business ideas are born on a dinner napkin. So there you go. So you said that political preference is number 4 on the hierarchy of dating priorities. What's 1, 2, and 3?
So obviously there's gender, there's sexuality, and believe it or not, the 3rd is smoking.
Really?
Whether or not you smoke. Surprisingly. And the 4th is where you stand politically.
So what's religion, 5?
I don't know I don't know. The article that I have that I can share with you just lists the top 4.
Interesting.
Yeah.
And before this, obviously you're a pretty successful businessman yourself, and you're getting into tech now, but before it, talk to me a little bit about your business background. What businesses did you create in the past? I know you sold at least one of them. Congratulations on that. Talk to me about your business history.
So I started my first business when I was 26, and it was in IT. It was 1988 in Pennsylvania, where I'm from originally, and it was right when the PCs were taking off. And what I noticed is that to get a PC back then, you would go to a store. You'd go to a Computerland or a Microage. There were a handful of them. But what were businesses doing? I mean, they were starting to become used more and more by large and small business back then. I mean, were they going to go to Computerland and order 50 computers, and who's going to service them and who's going to train them and all that kind of stuff? So started a company that focused on micro computing within businesses and all the services that surround that, break fix. And it went from nothing to about 40 million in revenue in about 3 years.
Holy shit.
And yeah, it just took off. Right place, right time. Easy. We had a staff. I mean, we had a staff of 3 when we started, and we had about 120 people at the end. And
sole founder? You have co-founder?
Yeah, no, it was me, and my father-in-law helped me get started as well. He was in the IT business.
Damn.
So yeah, it took off.
Crazy.
And
40 million in 3 years.
Amazing. We were able to get the biggest bank in town, multiple banks, but the biggest bank in town in where I'm from. And I mean, all the businesses wanted to deal with us because they didn't, they're not going to go to a store to buy a computer, but B, they wanted it set up, they wanted it configured, they wanted their software loaded, they wanted break fix, they wanted training for their staff. I mean, we did all that stuff for them. So that was, I don't want to say they were lining up at the front door. It was a lot harder than that, but yeah, but it worked. And in 95, I sold it to a company called Ameridata, which was pretty quickly thereafter bought by GE IT Services. And I sold it in June of 95, and I moved out to Colorado in March of 96. And that was my first business. Yeah.
First business. That's crazy.
And then since then I've done 8 total startups. I've done a couple other software companies. I did a helmet company that I sold to Reebok for hockey and lacrosse helmets back in 2005. I made a full-length feature film, fun project. We have we're actually just now in the middle of selling a business that my business partner and I have back in Pennsylvania, which is utility consulting and electricity brokerage and stuff like that. So I've been kind of all over the map. What I've noticed about myself is I tend to get bored after, or complacent. I don't know what the right term is, after a couple of years. And I'm like, oh, what's next? Make a movie. Okay, let's do IT. Let's do an app. But it's fun. That's what keeps you going.
Yeah, it's staying your edge. I believe in staying in a zone of general discomfort.
Yeah.
It's
a good way to put it.
Sport, it's no man is going to feel fulfilled without challenge. And I like to call it your creative edge, right? Like you're exploring your creative, pursuits, right? Like I think that's great. So, there's a lot of founders who listen to this show, about 5,000 of them. Mm-hmm. And if you could share a word with them about if there's one factor that makes a business succeed, what would you say that is?
I'd say the biggest thing is persistence, because everything I've ever done looked like it wasn't going to work, or you had massive doubts that kept you up at night. But if you just persevere and you just push through and you keep working and you keep talking and you keep, raising money if you have to, you just keep plowing away.
Yeah.
And what I find is most people are willing to do that for some period of time, but maybe not a long enough period of time. And I don't know if it's a good asset or a bad asset, but I just keep at it. I just keep going. I just keep.
Tell me about a time when you had that, oh shit, it's over moment, maybe in the first business, the 0 to 40 million.
So the first business, it took us, it sounds, we did a lot of revenue in a pretty short time, but the first 6, 8 months, 10 months, while we were getting kind of acclimated and get, first calls, sales calls out to these various places, it actually started pretty slow. And I was never in that business. I never had the mindset of, this isn't going to work, because it was working, but it wasn't working to a $40 million level. It was working to a couple $1 million level. So it's like, is this it? Or can we actually go out and get these deals? And, the biggest thing I did there was I met, who's now one of my best friends. And this is back in '88. This is a long time ago. Probably the best sales guy and really businessman that I've ever met. He came in and I had to pitch him hard because we had no money to pay him. But he came into the business with me, about a year into it. And that's when all of a sudden we had some more horsepower. Like, it wasn't all just me. And I had
came in as an investor or an advisor.
He came in as a sales manager, really.
Oh, damn.
And then he became a equity partner, because he was that important. But that kind of changed everything. All of a sudden we had more horsepower, more time.
He's
more
like
people.
a gun from another company who's.
No, he and I actually worked together in 1982. It's about 100 years before you guys were born. We worked together in 82 and we hit it off, and we liked each other socially. We'd go out and have some beers after work, whatever. And then he went his way and I went my way. And I just always thought that, man, that guy's he lights up a room, and he can talk to anybody, and he's smart, and he's
sales.
And he's a sales guy through and through. And he loves it. So, when I had my opportunity to bring him on, he was the guy I wanted to bring on. Luckily, I was able to do it. I think he came on because he was my friend, not because I was paying him, because I was paying him next to nothing back then. But it worked. It worked for him and it worked for us. And
I think that speaks to the kind of fearlessness and resourcefulness you have to have. Maybe those aren't the words you used, but like when you're in business, you stretch yourself, right? Like I just hosted this event, this Founders and Funders event, and I hadn't hosted an event for investors before. And when I started talking to them, they're a huge pain in the ass to get locked in. They're all like skittish and want to do all this kind of like qualification and all that. And I wanted to qualify them too. And, like I was really concerned that I would fill out the room with attendees, fill it out with startups, but not have any legit investors on the panel. And that kept me up for 3 weeks.
Right.
So I was stressing about that a lot. And then at the last second, I locked in like 6 solid ass people. But it looked like it was going to fail up until like a week before. Which is like, there's a big investment happening. I had 65 attendees confirmed. And
no investors.
Yeah, I had nobody. The whole point of the thing was for these investors to do a panel. So I don't know. I always just find these stories inspiring because you're stretching yourself. You're putting yourself out there so much. And like, you don't really, there's no confidence or proof or belief other than your own that things are going to work out. You're liable to lose your reputation or your money.
Even that, you're like doubting yourself.
Yeah, and you're questioning it. Yeah. You're like, if I do the math, it doesn't make sense right now.
Yeah,
and it often doesn't. That's why I like probing on these things. So, very impressive business history. Great series of exits. And I think another thing that being that there's a lot of tech founders in our audience, people like yourself, a lot of them have trouble raising capital. And you raised what, $1.5 million, $2 million for TrueBlue?
I raised $500,000 for TrueBlue so far.
Okay.
So
I thought you did more than that, but okay. But still,
well, if you include me, outside money was $500,000. We're close to $1 million total.
Got it. If there was one tipping point that helped you close deals with investors, what would you say that was?
In my case, I've done a bunch of startups, so I'm able to go back to people that have profited through my other startups, or at least one, to say, hey, here we go again. Are you in? Oh yeah, I'm in. So, it's a lot easier once you do it once or twice. And then the other thing is my kids are in their mid 30s now. And this was actually great to see. It made me feel good, but they wanted in. Like They wanted in because they thought
kids invested.
No, my kids didn't, but a handful of their friends did.
Damn.
And the cool thing is that they're all dating app users. Like they see the opportunity here, and they're not, they haven't exited anything yet. So they're like, this came out of their savings account, and I'd say, listen, if I were you, I wouldn't do this. Like, really? I mean, it's a startup. You never know.
It's very
But they're like, no, I want in. I said, the one guy handed me a check, and I said, listen, I'm going to hold this for a week at least. You call me Tuesday if you have any second guesses, because it's a lot of pressure on me too, right?
Yeah.
So, but anyway, for me, it was easy to go back to people that have worked with me before and ask them if they want back in. And I've really only used VCs one time for one of my businesses called Outlaw Technologies. It was a call center app for healthcare companies or health insurance companies. And we used a local Boulder, Colorado-based VC. Came in for, I think it was $500,000. It wasn't a big deal. And they exited with us, and they were happy. But that's really the only time I used VC. I typically use individuals,
angels,
usually people I know. I've used an angel here and there. Yeah.
What's your thinking? Why wouldn't you go institutional capital? Why do you prefer to work with individuals?
I don't prefer. I think I would, but all my businesses up until this one were I'll call them regional, like the first business where we were selling to large businesses within our region. It wasn't something that could go, national. I guess it could. You could open up other branches and stuff, but it wasn't like this dating app where, we're going to release it, and we're going to release it in New York and LA and boom, boom, boom. And then you have, 50 other Democrat-based countries that you can take it into. I mean, this could blow up.
No.
And if we want to make it blow up sooner rather than later, we're going to need some institutional money. So this is really the first time if I want to go that fast, this is the first time I really have to entertain. So I've got enough institutional money. I've got nothing against it. I just never had to use it before.
Yeah. So you're saying it's more for a high caliber type of thing.
Something that could really,
a startup money, a little more like firepower.
Most of my businesses, the first one, as we said, was $40 million when I sold it. By the way, they took that up to about $60 million in 2 years. And then GE ITS ran it into the ground within a year of that, and it went away.
Yeah. Do you think they bought it to kill it?
I don't think so. I just think that it was this, it was tiny. It was a rounding number over P&L, and they were like, yeah.
Damn, that's kind of a shame.
Because it wasn't just us. They bought a company called Ameridata, which is who bought us, and they had,
probably much larger.
They were nationwide, so it's not like they just killed us. They killed the whole business in less than a year. It was crazy. But I was out.
Killed it as in like didn't perform, or as in shut it down?
Gone, shut it out of business, the whole thing. And again, not just me, the whole
US.
Yeah, it's
that's
amazing.
Crazy.
Amazing. But I was out.
It's so damn hard to build something, and they're like,
I felt bad about that, but I mean, at least I was out financially.
Yeah, and you didn't have an earn out. You were able to have a clean break.
Yeah. Took some stock, but the stock did well.
Yeah. I mean, big company.
Ameridata was a roll up, and they did that. They rolled it up and they sold it to GE,
and you got GE stock.
Yeah.
Nice.
Got Ameridata and then GE stock. Yeah.
Okay, so
excuse me.
Definitely some impressive business stories. Now, do you find, if you had to grade it on a scale, do you find that it's easier to do business these days or more difficult to succeed?
It's different. It's different. Is it harder now? Maybe. It's less personal now, which I don't like. I mean, as you know, we were going to do our kickoff meeting. We could have done it in Zoom, and I said, no, I want to fly out. I want to see you. I want to meet you. I want to meet your people. And, that's the way it used to be done. I sound like an old guy now for a good reason. That's the way it used to be done. I mean, there was no Zoom, right? There was you flew out, you drove out, whatever, you shook hands, and that's the way you did business. And now it's, my office is in my basement. I don't get out of my pajamas till noon, if then. I'm just, everything's done virtually, and on your computer and in your basement. And I don't like that, to be honest. I like the office environment. I think people get more creative and get the juices flowing when they're together, but that's just not mostly the way it is nowadays. So I prefer the older days. I don't know if it's harder or easier now.
You know, you would think that having a digital first business like mine, it would be super high margin, but it's really not. I feel like we're still fighting for margin every day. Like talent's expensive, and it just, I think, not paying $5,000 a month for an office doesn't really add that much to the bottom line. I really do wish that my team was in person, but honestly, we source mostly from Serbia and Latin America now.
Mm-hmm.
Work ethic is better, more creative, more driven, and so we fly them out annually for our annual meeting, and we're going to start doing something quarterly. But yeah, everyone, by the time everyone comes in for the retreat, we just start drinking, dude. We're out partying and having fun right away because people are craving it, Yeah. Because I mean, it's not like they're in college, their professional interactions are all happening digitally.
Mm-hmm.
So you don't really get your social muscle flexed that much. And that's a shame. It really does suck. I really wish it was, I wish it was an environment that was a little bit more friendly to staying local.
I hear you. My two boys, one works at Ball Corporation in Colorado as a account exec, and the other one's a lawyer. And both of them go in maybe twice a week. Like,
they're just indifferent, about it.
That's what they're used to. Like, if they have to go in 3 or 4 days, I got to go in again today. It's like, geez,
poor me.
We used to go in Monday through Friday, and sometimes on the weekends. It's like, but that's the way it is now. I don't think it's as healthy, but that's the way it is.
Yep. Yeah, excuse me. That is unfortunately just the way it is now. So, like I told you yesterday, a lot of the startups that we work with are run by successful business guys like yourself. Maybe had an exit in a B&M business or something else, came into tech, and they need some tactical experts who know what to do, right? So maybe you can share with some of the other founders out there, like, what's it been like getting into tech?
Well, I was in tech.
Founder.
I've had a couple of software companies. My first company was IT. It wasn't software.
Oh, so
I've been in tech, but I've never...
You had the call center software.
I had the call center software. That was one of them.
I thought this was your first foray into software yesterday.
No, first foray into apps, for sure. So, and I'm not a coder. My companies, thinking of my software companies, I mean, my partners were typically the tech guys, the coders, the guys that could run the development and stuff.
So what are the red flags founders should look out for now, knowing what you know about running an app? What are the red flags that first-time tech founders need to look out for? So
if you just exited and you're looking for something to do and you're going to build an app, I would think any app, unless it's extremely basic. I had 2 misstarts really when I started building the app. The first one was just a local app developer that it just didn't work out. It wasn't getting done the way I wanted it to. So I stopped that, and then I started with another guy locally in Boulder that had developed an app for another company out of India. I mean, the development was out of India. The company was here in the States. It was a pretty heady app. It had a lot of video and audio components to it. And so I thought, well, if he can do that, he can do a dating app. So we started down the road with them. 10 months later, again, it wasn't going as fast as I wanted. It wasn't.
You think it's their fault or your fault?
Partly mine. It was partly mine. We didn't have good design docs, which is a killer, killer. When we first started, we were going to do Tinder for progressives. And then, as I got more into it, I was like, well, Hinge is really doing well and it's much more interesting. Why don't we kind of model after Hinge? So, I mean, an about face, and that's my fault. And then even after I met, our current product development guy, Taylor, and we started working with him, what we set out to make 2 years ago is half of what we produced. And that's why it's taken so long. We didn't have good design documents. We didn't have good knowledge. of dating apps and what they should look like. So we kept saying, oh no, wait, we think we're done, but let's add, this. Let's add profile verification. Let's add content moderation. And those are big things.
We have a word for that.
Yeah.
Scope creep.
Scope creep. But
every first-time founder does it.
Yeah.
And so my question for you is that avoidable, or is it just something you got to cut your teeth on?
I think it's, in my case, as I look at the dating app that I built, True Blue, if I had more knowledge and expertise, not me personally, if I would have brought in more knowledge and expertise on dating apps and used a good design tool, which we never used,
or where design team.
And team. Why
did you hire a design team to design the app?
Because again, we originally it was, let's do an MVP, which is, the minimal,
make a prototype copy Tinder.
Yeah, essentially. Exactly. But then we went from there to Hinge, and then we needed all this other stuff. And I mean, it just kept creeping. And the only risk we ran with that was A, it cost us some money. But B, if anybody, God forbid, Match.com or Bumble came out with a progressive dating app, and we would have been sunk. That was the biggest risk that we took, just dragging on the development process. But that didn't happen, and here we are today, and we've got a awesome app, and right now, no competition.
Yeah, that's the crazy part, is that there's no competition. There's no other apps that are doing what you're doing.
I can't explain why.
Withholding judgment, more like making a remark, I think it's great if progressives get out and date. I think relationships make people more healthy. I think that particular group probably could have more healthy relationships. Not to say that conservatives wouldn't benefit from the same thing, but ultimately it's a very altruistic thing in my opinion. And I think that it's much needed. And I mean, you got 10,000 users on the platform. Obviously people are into it. That's just in Colorado. That's the only place that you're live right now.
It's kind of without trying too.
Correct. That's kind of my point, is that people are biting for it. And I opened up the app and I was just flipping around. I'm married, I have a kid, but like people were liking my profile and DMing me.
Yeah, it's working.
Between now and when we had our meeting earlier. So it's like people want it. And people are paying for it too. I mean, you're charging $39 a month and people are paying it. That's relatively high, especially for a new app. Most apps are seeing like 9.
Well, it's high for a new app, but it's right in the middle of all existing apps. Maybe we're a little aggressive, but time will tell.
I've launched a bunch of other dating apps and all of them were charging like $5 to $20 a month.
Yeah. Well, here's what I know. All the research and just common sense, if you put on CNN or Fox News, progressives want to be around and date progressives, and conservatives want to be around and date conservatives. And we know that only 4% of marriages in the U.S., and this includes people my age, politics wasn't even an issue when you dated, really prior to 2015. You didn't even ask.
Yeah. Same here. I didn't even think about it back in the day.
But now it's, like I said, it's the fourth highest priority. And, 71% of progressives say they wouldn't consider a long-term relationship with somebody that doesn't share their political views. And, that's the basis of what we're doing here. I mean, just again, turn on the news and just the vitriol and they're at the politicians I'm talking about mostly. They're just at each other's throats, and it's
but it dissipates down to the people too.
Yeah.
And I think that level of viscosity and fury, I think you can turn that into momentum for the business. I think that as charged up as people are about those topics, like they are that passionate about finding people who are in the same camp as them. So
100%.
Do you think that you're perpetuating an echo chamber by putting people into the same group?
I think so. I've been asked that before. I'm pretty
simple-minded.
We're just filling a gap here. Yeah, we really are.
Just a businessman, baby.
we're just filling a gap. I mean, is it bad that Jewish people want to date each other? Or if, well, Jay dates out there for them. How about Christians? That's out there for, how about farmers? That's out there for them too, right? I mean, we're just filling a gap. I don't think we're doing anything at all to help perpetuate that divide. I really don't. We're just giving them a place to find a soulmate.
My stance on it. I think, like I said, I think more people in healthy relationships is a good thing. So I'm all on board with that.
Yeah, I agree.
So what really makes the True Blue app different?
Well, again, based on research, I mean, I am simple, but I'm data driven, and all the research that I've done says that if two people align socially, and that is, where do they stand on major social issues, things like a woman's right to choose, or stronger gun controls, or climate change, and so on. If two people align on those ideals, their chances of having and enjoying and growing and having a long relationship are astronomically higher than if they don't. And I think that goes back to the 4% of the people marriages in the U.S. right now are only 4% are between a Democrat and a Republican. So, I mean, and again, that includes older people where it wasn't even an issue. So it's something that binds you. And that's I think the biggest thing that True Blue does is we ask our members where they stand, what's their level of passion on these 6 important social issues. And, yes, we match people based on, gender and sexuality and ethnicity and the normal stuff. But we also then look at where they stand on those issues to further refine our matching process. And, again, why? Because research and data says that's important. That's ultimately important. So let's get that in the outcome.
To the longevity. The data says the relationship lasts longer if those building blocks are in place.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. There's one other thing I noticed when I was trying the app is that it has the AI functionality, which will basically, it can grade your conversation and tell you whether it thinks, based on what the conversation that you've been having, how compatible you are.
Yes.
I thought that was a pretty cool feature. And I also thought the feature was cool that the green flags feature. Why don't you tell us about the green flags feature?
Yeah. So we do a couple of things with AI. The one thing I didn't want to do with AI was cheat or remove the personality of the people that are chatting. There are apps
a lot
that
of apps
do that
kind of cheat, and it's no fun.
No, I mean you're talking to a robot. You're not talking to AI.
It's a robot talking to a robot.
Yeah. So what we did was a couple of things. We use AI to kind of look at if you and I are chatting. It looks at our conversation. It also looks at your other conversations and my other conversations with other members. So it knows what our interests are and what we like and what we don't like. At least what we've chatted about. And it looks at your profile and everything else. But it will suggest topics of conversation for you to use if you'd like to. So if I talked about my dog Walter,
That's handy.
Yeah. If I talked about my dog Walter in another conversation, or in our conversation, it might say, "Hey, why don't you ask him about his dog Walter, right? Or why don't you ask him about starting a dating app? I don't know, whatever." So it comes up with 3 suggestions, and then as you chat more and your conversation grows, it changes those suggestions. It doesn't write the text for you because, again, that's cheating in my opinion. But it'll say, "Hey, why don't you talk about one of these things?" We also identify green flags. So again, if you and I are matched and we're chatting, I can see your green flags, and your green flags might be you get back to people quickly, you ask about them, you are positive, you talk about future events with them. So there's a list of, I think we have 8 green flags that you kind of earn or accumulate as you chat with other people. And then as you're chatting with me, I can see your green flags and you can see mine as well. So it just kind of gives you an idea of what the person's about, at least to a certain degree. And then the last one is sentiment analysis. And what that does is it, again, looks at your chat, looks at your profiles, and it kind of rates the potential of the relationship. So I'm sorry, if we're being very positive with each other, we both like red wine, we both like power sailing, whatever. It understands that. So it'll and again, it looks at the profile, it looks at the passion ratings and all that stuff. So it'll apply a number, almost a percentage, 1 to 100, as to the potential of a relationship. And you can sort by that. So if you have 50 different conversations going on, which a couple of my kids' friends do, you can sort by that. So again, you're about ready to take off. You've got 10 minutes to kill or 5 minutes to kill before your plane takes off. You can actually sort by sentiment analysis, which theoretically gives you the highest potentials first and on down. So it's a pretty cool feature, and it actually works.
Yeah, I think we need to highlight those more in the marketing.
Yeah,
that's pretty compelling stuff, and it's like not invasive,
I think we're the only ones that do that. Most dating apps, even the big ones who have, a lot of resources, haven't really taken advantage of AI. We have to a certain degree. We have plans for a lot more, but I mean, most of them haven't even done what we're doing, and we're just little old True Blue.
Hey, maybe not so little soon. You don't have to answer this, but I find it funny. I was reading comments on a political post, and somebody said, when you realize that it's not left versus right, it's top versus bottom, it all makes sense. And then I thought about that quote. I'm like, wow, that's like really interesting. And then I saw some recent research about how like 75% of Americans are independents, or 70%, some crazy amount. It's like by and far the majority. And so in your opinion, in 10 years, do you think there's going to be this left and right duality that we have today?
That's hard to say, but I mean, it's so strong right now. Like it could taper off. I don't know. I don't have a crystal ball. I'd be rolling the dice, but, I mean, it's been 10 years now, 10. And, I know a lot of that has to do with Trump, but if JD is next, that's probably just going to continue and,
perpetuate the divide.
Even if you got somebody in there that's centered, whether they're left or right, as president, it's going to take a while. It's going to take a while, I think, to heal the wounds.
Agreed.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think a lot of it's pretty irreparable.
Yeah, I agree.
It's like any other relationship. When you say something really fucked up, you can do permanent damage to the relationship, yes. And it can take a woman months or years to get over something that a guy would say,
I mean, they're pulling people into, Trump was in court. Now he's pulling, it's nasty.
Yeah, it's ugly, but I think a lot of people feel like we're just watching a puppet show and we're just, and in a sense being mocked.
Yeah, I feel a little bit of that. I mean, they're personally kind of going after each other, which has nothing to do with us, right? Why don't we stop that?
There's something important going on while they're distracting us with this news. There's something important going on that's not getting covered.
Or they're spending their time doing this, which has no impact on us, pulling Bolton in or whatever. Why don't we get away from that and actually govern for the people? Like, that would be ideal.
I think there's a lot of people who feel that way. And also, I don't fit clearly into the left or right bucket. My dad might consider me a flaming liberal, but to somebody else, I might be a flaming conservative, because I don't fit cleanly into one of those buckets.
Yeah.
Right. And I think there's a lot of people. I think that's why 75 or 70% are consider themselves independent, because they don't want to be affiliated with that vitriol, and I certainly don't.
One of the reasons we kind of coined the phrase "where progressives meet" around True Blue is because you can be affiliated with any political party and still be progressive. In fact, what I've found since starting this and quizzing people and understanding them is that almost everybody I meet, is progressive in some way. You know, you could be a hardcore Trumper, but you think women should have the right to make a decision about their body, right? That kind of makes you progressive. You might think there should be better gun control. Exactly. You know, that maybe you need a training before you get a gun. You know, how do you load it? How do you shoot it? And right now they just hand it to you. You know, is that wrong? Yeah, I think so. Most of my conservative friends think the same way. So, I mean, you can be a hardcore conservative and be progressive.
Yeah, I think that's the whole fascination with Trump is that he got RFK, Elon Musk, all these people who were like hardcore
Democrats
that were really pushing for Democrat themes and narratives, right? RFK is a great example. He's very progressive. And I'm a big RFK guy. I love what he's after. I love what he's up to.
I love that he's asking the questions, you know?
Yeah, and that's part of why I think that, you know, my own perspective here is a lot of us are getting disenfranchised with this bullshit. And we're like, I don't even really want to call myself that because you guys are doing a lot of shady shit. And plus, like when you watch the news, you like literally don't know what to believe and what not to believe.
Right.
You watch two different channels and both of them are going to be compelling.
Amazing.
You know, sometimes I'll like flip on CNN and I'll be like, well, they make a good point here. And then I'll see the other side and I'll be like, well, obviously these are the facts and that's, you know, that's all BS.
I think I caught the very, very end of like Walter Cronkite. If you know that name, he was a newsman, you know, NBC, I can't remember. But
OG.
I'll tell you that back then they reported news. It was boring. Now they sensationalize the news because they're all about eyeballs, and I get that. Right? I mean, they gotta pay the bills too. So I mean, they don't just say, "Here's the news." They put their spin on the news, you know, and you can't watch news it's now without like your blood boiling. Yeah, it is. But they have to do it to get eyeballs, you know. Back then, I guess they didn't. There were only 3 channels back then, so they didn't have to do it.
Yeah, you know, I find it funny because, I mean, you know, my beliefs, we talked about it a little bit yesterday, but like if I were single and I got on the app, I wouldn't really feel like I was out of place, even though I'm more fiscally conservative and socially liberal.
Yeah.
I feel like I could still meet, which is funny about True Blue, because if I find somebody like a female who shares my social beliefs, you know, me and her can disagree on the fiscal infrastructure.
Yeah.
Who cares about that? It's a guy topic. But like, I could see it still working with
100%. And again, that's what the research, and it just makes sense, right? If you go home every day and you're fighting about social issues, which are big, they're big issues that affect everybody.
Over.
Yeah. Then that's a tough road to hoe, right? But you go home and talk about, our taxes are going up, or our property taxes went up or down or whatever else. I mean, that's something you share in, but it's, I just go back to the kind of basics, and people like to hang out with or date people that they see eye to eye with. And right now, the most important thing, top 4, is where do you stand politically? I mean, I've seen people have a nice chat, and at the end, somehow they figure out that, oh, you voted for Trump, and see ya. You know, it's like, really? That's going to kill everything? You just chatted with this guy for 10 minutes and liked him. So it's the way it is, you know? And again, we're filling the gap. We're filling the gap for that.
So what's the big picture view? Are you going to expand this to have group dating, or where you have like a BFF type of feature like Bumble, or you want to keep it strictly to romantic relationships? What's the big picture view with the product?
So I view dating for progressives as kind of the first step, but I'd like to and I don't have real hard specifics on this yet. I mean, we literally just finished the app like last week, the new release.
V2, yeah.
V2. So, but what I'd like it to be a destination for progressives, and that could mean content. That could mean a meetup capability where you could create an event, a bike ride for 10 people, and they could they could sign up for it, and you can kind of pick your 10 and you all meet somewhere or go. Typical meetup app, but for progressives within True Blue. And there's probably 8 other things we could do. The one thing I want to do as we mature is create a kind of a steering committee, a group of users that can help us kind of
that's interesting.
Kind of manage that process. Like, what would you like to see in it? You know, what would help you? What would bring you back? You know, beyond just dating, because you know, you date for, if you're lucky, you date for a couple of months, and you find somebody, and you're off the dating apps, right? And if that doesn't work, maybe you come back. Maybe hopefully it does work, and you never come back. So, I'd like it to become a destination for progressives, whatever that means.
Yeah, maybe you could bring in the social component after, and they could join a different part of the app, like a community.
Yeah,
and that's part of why I like that you're doing the launch specifically in Colorado, so that you can have a group of, again, like-minded people in a geographic area. Because if you did want to have the social features like organizing meetups, or you know, a social feed or anything else, group chatting functions, it'd all be a very easy transition, be very natural.
Well, and I live there. Which is why I did it there, because we were and are looking at like campus ambassadors, and we've got CU, Colorado University, which is all over the state. We've got Colorado State, and we've got there's I don't know, 5 or 6 colleges down in the Denver area. So I wanted to be near it, to be able to kind of do that stuff. If we do events, obviously I wanted to be there and see how they're going and what works and what doesn't. So that's one of the reasons. The other reason I liked Colorado is that you've got Boulder and Denver, which are very liberal. And then you've got Colorado Springs, which is 45 minutes down the road from Denver, which is very conservative, very religious. So the interesting part to me for that is where does it work better? In other words, does it work? Are we seeing more engagement with True Blue in a conservative area where progressives are having a hard time finding each other?
Or they're up against?
Or are we just seeing them where there's, you know, a lot of them like Denver?
What have you seen so far?
I'd say it's too early to tell. As you said, we released it in June of 24 in Colorado only. We did a pre-release. We signed up about 3,000 people. That's all we wanted, because it was a beta release, so they could use it and they could provide input as to what they liked, what they didn't like, what worked, what didn't work, and thank God everything worked. But you know, what could be better? And then we did the pre-launch. We did digital marketing and advertising for that, and then we just stopped marketing, and we had the group we wanted, and we spent the next year adding, as I said earlier, a bunch of things to get it where it is now. But in the meantime, it grew up to 10,000 people, and that was almost all word of mouth, which is interesting to me.
Really?
Yeah. Yeah.
So 3,000 signups from advertising, and then the remaining 7 were organic?
Yes.
Wow, that's crazy. I haven't heard about that in a while.
I'd go on my computer and say, oh, we got another, 500 this week. Where the hell did they come from?
Damn. Not many apps that we talk to are doing that kind of organic in the beginning.
Unbelievable. And we weren't doing things like asking existing members to tell their friends about us, which we'll get into as we mature. It was just word of mouth. I can't even, we were doing social media, but we weren't lighting the world on fire with social media. Some of it probably came through there, but
most of it was people. I mean, that's kind of the best kind of virality, is when people are just on their own talking about it. Like, yeah, you got to check this out, and just found it. It's really cool. It's only available here.
Yeah. I've been to a bar restaurant in our neighborhood, and we know the bartender owner pretty well, and she's single, and she was like, "Oh, what? Wait, you're doing something for progressives?" Like, yeah, dating app. She goes, "Oh, tell me when it's ready." This is a year and a half ago. So I told her. But other people are going, listening, going, "Wait, what are you doing? You dating app for progressives? Really? What's it called?" So it's like all of a sudden the whole bar's like, "Oh, True Blue, that's pretty cool." So maybe that's happening, remotely or virally. I don't know.
Yeah, but what's funny is, like, at least the perception that I had when I got into making an app, I made a social app for my first app too. It's like fitness rewards. You run 2 miles, you get a bottle of water, a tank top, whatever. And I thought, I'm going to list this on the App Store. People are going to find out about it, and then they're going to tell all their friends, and we're all going to get rich. And it doesn't happen that way.
Not to real scale. Not to real scale.
But even your case, I mean, we got up to 45,000 users on the platform, but I was beating the street. I was hosting events, making people download the app to come into the events, things like that. And that was, we had a few viral moments. One where we got like 14,000, another where we got 10,000 users, like from stuff going viral. One was on Twitter, and the other one, what was the other time? Oh, we did this launch at the city of Philadelphia. We did Philly Free Streets, if you're familiar with that.
I've heard of it. Yeah.
Yeah. And they close all the streets and open it up to runners and walkers. Cool. And so we sponsored that. But my point is that like, there's so many damn apps out there. It's so competitive nowadays that people don't just naturally share it like they used to. It's not like 2010, when these things would just literally go viral, catch on fire. Everybody told each other about them.
Yeah.
So that's actually really reassuring, because that means your K factor is 3.3x. Every user who came on average, brought 3.3 of their friends, which is a crazy K factor. We shoot for like 30 to 50%, so 3.3 to 0.5 K factors. So each person invites an average, every 2 people invites 1 friend on average. Yeah. And that's enough to really create some momentum. So that actually gets me really excited. I mean, in full disclosure, my team is doing this launch, so we have a vested interest in this, you could say. But like I said, we launched 89 apps in the last 12 months, and all of them were fighting. We're out there marketing hard. Very rare do people just like walk through the door like, hey, let me get this. Like, it's available. It's very rare. So that's really reassuring. And it's also kind of, it really validates this marketplace that you've
I agree. I feel good about this niche. I do. And I have for a long time. And it's going back to my first company. They're not going to be lining up at the door, but we're filling a void that is needed and wanted. From everything I've seen, read, heard, researched, talked to people, whatever else, I feel really good about this.
Yeah, and that momentum, I was looking at the analytics earlier, and I was looking at the monthly active users and daily active users, and I noticed people spend a lot of time in the app, between 5 minutes and 45 minutes per session. It's just like, that's like Instagram numbers, 45 minutes per session. They're clearly getting hooked on something, which is really good. So if you're out there and you single progressive, definitely download it. But yeah, it's got a lot of the positive indicators, and it kind of caught me by surprise, because my expectations aren't really high for companies at this stage. Like, I usually expect that we have to do the heavy lift as a team, and we got to get the numbers up. Usually the product can't sell itself. So that's pretty exciting stuff. I think you are on it.
I think it remains to be seen, but all the indicators are good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, Dennis, is there anything else that you want to share with the audience, or anything that we can do to support you on your mission here?
Well, I mean, you're going to be supporting me, hopefully, as you're in charge of the rollout, which we're going to get started with here soon. And most of your viewers are like IT people, did you say earlier?
It's mostly startup founders.
Startup founders.
Yeah.
So I mean, I kid my friends, like, this is my 8th startup. I had to do startups because nobody would hire me because I have limited skills. But I said it earlier, like, to founders, like, it's a matter of sticking with it. It really is. There's all the little things. You got to find good people. You got to find smart people. You have to have a product that people want. It's got to be a good product. I mean, there's all those blocking and tackling things you have to do. But the biggest thing is, I've noticed this outside of business too. When there's something I really want, it might have been a girl in high school. I've noticed this. It always looks bad before it comes through. The biggest account we ever had in my first business called us and said, you know what, you guys were great, but sorry you didn't get the business. And we were like, oh man, that would have been so good for us. It was $15 million a year or something like that in revenue, just with this big bank. And then we got a call from another hours later. We're kind of sulking, and gosh, got a call from another guy. Hey, congrats, come on over. We're like, wait, we got a call from purchasing or somebody, we didn't get the deal. He goes, what? Hey, let me call you back. Comes back. He goes, no, we that was a mistake. We apologize that we did.
Oh my God.
We're like, really? We all had heart attacks here.
Just had a panic attack.
Unbelievable. But that happens all the time. Like the more you want it, the worse it looks. Then it comes through. And I think that's true in business.
Yeah, I very much agree. I mean, they say it's darkest right before the light, right?
Yeah, true.
Yeah,
it's good.
There's just a lot of darkness.
A lot of darkness. I'll say this too, though. I've been in a position where we're working right now. Wouldn't it be nice if you didn't have to work? And all the headaches that come with work. Wouldn't it be nice to just come home to your family and that is nice for about a week. And then you're like, I got to do something. And you're right back into it. You're right
after your first exit or something?
After everyone, really. I mean, you just like, oh, now I can relax for a while. And at least in my case, you relax for a week and you're like, okay, I need something to do business wise.
I think I would get it.
And then you're laying awake at night. Like, is this going to work? What I get into this for, and typically they work, but it's like, why do I need this? And then it happens again. You get in a position, you go, okay, I'm going to take it easy. No, a week later, back into it.
Yeah, it's crazy. We almost have like a death wish, we like to be like right on the edge of,
yes,
dude, everything might fall apart,
But in some weird way, you need that.
Yeah.
You do, and I do, and founders do. Yeah. You need, I don't know why.
Okay, so where can people find you, find the app? How can we support you? Is it following on Instagram? Is it downloading the app?
Oh, yeah. I mean, the app's out there. It's on Apple and Google Play. It's, as I said, we have a new release going up tonight.
Free to download. Yeah.
Free to download. It's free to use. It, like most of the dating apps are, they're limited. In other words, in our case, and in a lot of cases, you're limited to 10 likes a day. It's a lot of likes, really, but you're limited to that. And then the AI features and some other things come along with a subscription, but it's usable and effective for free. If you want more, you can get more, but you don't have to. Excuse me. So that's out there. Download it, try it, tell me what you think about it. I'm on LinkedIn. I'm on every social media there is. So I love feedback. I mean, it's funny. I get emails from users and they're sending it to support. So they don't know where it's going, but they come to me right now. Mm-hmm. And then I usually immediately like, hey, that's a great idea. Thanks for sharing that. Dennis Hefter, founder. And they're like, oh my gosh, I didn't know you were going to, get back. The founder was going to get back to me. I love the input though. I mean, it drives the product,
the innovation. Yeah. Now I meant to ask you about that earlier. I want to talk about that before we close this out. Mm-hmm. Have you been talking to your users and what are some of the ideas that they brought to you?
So there's a couple that are just great. Vanessa comes to mind. I don't know her last name. That's her name on the app, but she, without me even asking, typically I'll say, hey, give me some feedback on that. What do you think? They'll come back. And sometimes it's just a couple sentences. Sometimes she comes back with a book. And I mean, it's all good too. It's all good. It's amazing. So I'll go back to her and say, hey, what'd you mean by that? And she's like, oh no, if you do this, I'm like, that's a great idea.
What kind of ideas did she bring you?
She wanted us to do, she was one of the first ones that said, you really need to verify your profiles. And when we first introduced TrueBlue in June of 24, we didn't have that capability. And we knew we were going to get some fake accounts. I don't think we have bots, but we have some fake accounts. We have some unsavory
catfishes.
Yeah. Frauds.
Fake photos.
Yeah. Stuff. So, but we got way more than I thought we were going to, and quickly.
They came from the ads or from the buzz?
I think they came from I think somebody, they must have some kind of a Slack channel or something where they say, hey, go over to TrueBlue. They're not verifying profiles. I kid, but I mean, we got a lot. So she said, you really need to clean these up. And I said, no, I agree. But that was kind of our first indicator. And we do now. Now we ID everybody that comes on. And if we know that that's going to not make people mad, but some people are going to say, I'm not doing that. It's going to take 2 minutes and that's too much time. And we're going to lose some people, but we're going to lose a lot of bad actors. And that's a good trade-off.
Yeah. So what are the trolls and fakes come on there for? Are they running money scams?
So I've not had any users report to me that they were scammed. So hopefully we haven't had any of that. But I mean, you can look at a profile and see if it's real or not, right? I mean, just by the pictures and just the way they filled out the profile and stuff like that. I mean, I've had a lot of users reported by other users, but not because they lost money or something like that. But I mean, that's typically what's going on, right? They're trying to.
I just don't get why people go out of their way to waste time making catfish profiles and.
Well, they're trying to scam me out of some money eventually, right?
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah.
They're ultimately just scammers.
I need $100. I just gotta, whatever. They make friends with you. You feel good about them. And then all of a sudden it's like, can you loan me $1,000? It's like, but again, nobody's reported a user that's done that yet. And again, we're at 10,000. We're not at 10 million. So, we took care of it now. Again, now you have to, not only do you have to, verify your profile when you create an account now, but we also added content moderation. So we look for words like social security number or bank account or those types of things. And we use AI to do that as well. So, I mean, AI can look at the conversation and go, this is fishy. They'll either not allow it or they'll flag it. And then we have a group that manually looks into those things.
Nice.
Yeah. So I honestly think it'll be one of certainly the safest dating apps on the market, including the big ones.
Yeah. I think it's really cool that you're doing that early on. And I think it'll have a slight cost now in the sense that the conversions will be lower to active accounts, but most of them are going to be fake anyway.
Right.
And secondly, like you're going to just attract more of the people that you do want. That's kind of what happens, right?
And that's the trade-off. Yeah. And even if you lose some legits that are just, I'm not going to spend, it literally takes 2 minutes, if that. I'm not going to do that. This is a new app. I don't need it. I'll go back to Tinder or whatever. Yeah, we're going to get some of those, but the trade-off is worth it.
Absolutely. Well,
yeah.
Dennis, I appreciate you coming on the show, man.
Thanks for having me. It was great
Conversation. I had no idea about these incredible business successes that you have. You're obviously a humble guy, but it's really cool to be in your presence.
I'm not that humble. I'll talk to you all night long about them.
Well, you can brag when we go out for a drink, but yeah, man. If you're listening to the show, go to trueblue.com, TRUU blue.com.
Correct.
Download the app, hit up the App Store, and
then hit me up on social media. Let me know what you think. If you hate it, I want to hear about it. If you love it, I'd like to hear about that too.
Awesome. All right, man. Well, have a great afternoon. Thank you for coming on.
You do the same. Thank you so much.